Whitney Williams Black began studying power, reproductive justice, and feminist movements in 2015. She obtained a BA in Gender and Women's Studies with a minor in Social Justice from Hollins University. Since graduation, Whit has become a certified full spectrum doula with Ancient Song Doula Services in New York City. Whit also completed whole body pregnancy childbirth educator training in 2021. Professionally, they have served as a community educator and program manager, facilitating workshops on reproductive justice, consent, pleasure, and developing programming to engage youth in Black BIPOC communities. In April 2020, Whitney married their love and returned to the South to continue combating food insecurity and Black gestational mortality and morbidity in their forever home. Their cooperative network now serves Durham, rural North Carolina counties, and virtually across the USA. As a full spectrum doula, Whitney is dedicated to serving those around her and all those who call on them. Early in Whitney's birthwork journey, she felt the call to serve Black mamas, young parents, poor LGBTQIA, and QT BIPOC people in the South. Her goals are to one day become a community midwife and to open birth centers and community gardens across the southeastern states of America. Welcome, Whit.
Hi, I'm so excited. I love when people read my bio, I have to say. It just feels so soft, and I feel so grateful to be, yeah, living this life and doing this work. So thanks for reminding me. So much
Oh,
gratitude.
totally. I know what you mean. That's so neat to just kind of hear it all in one place. Like, yeah.
Really living life. So yeah, thank
Yes,
you
you
so much for
are.
having me.
Of course. So happy to have you here. So, will you share with us your pronouns and where you're located? And
Yeah.
yeah, and any sort of land acknowledgement if you'd like.
Ooh, yes. Oh my goodness. So, man, my pronouns, they, she, I do oscillate, or what is it? Fluctuate between the two. Um, we are on Lumbee land. We are in Durham, North Carolina. We're blessed to own this little piece of land. Can't wait to give it back to the indigenous folks when the tide turns. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and if I'm not mistaken, that is Creek Muskogee land. Um, and I take Birmingham, Alabama wherever I go with me.
Nice. Love that. So, will you share about the work you do as a full spectrum doula and what your vision is for the future?
Full spectrum doula. We're coming up with so many words to describe the work that we're doing. So, what that means for me
Hmm.
is that I am really exploring the entire reproductive lifespan. When they talk about reproduction in history, they talk about, what along the long reproductive life. It's like, well, we're still having that. That has not stopped, that has not changed. So, I've had folks reach out to me and ask questions about, hey, my niece just started her period, and what can we do? And
Hmm.
being a thought partner in that, all the way down to, hey, wait, we've experienced pregnancy loss. We'd like someone to stand in with us, to witness us. You know, just that span. But
Hmm.
so abortion, miscarriage, and loss is a part of it. Abortion is another piece of some of the work that I do.
Hmm.
Um, Birth, prenatal education, nourishment throughout the like childbearing year is all kind of my jam. I'm trying to think, make sure I'm not forgetting nothing. Oh, and fertility.
Nice.
Duh. And fertility, which for me, especially like centering Black, queer, and trans people in fertility, that means talking about health and healthcare and how we access
Mhm.
healthcare, what it feels like to do that, and how do we get well during that time. So
Totally.
excited about talking about all of that today.
Yay. Nice. I love that. So, what compelled you? So, before we kind of dive in, today we're going to talk about your experience in fertile for folks who might be kind of wondering if it's for them. And then also, we're going to talk about the premester, which I'm excited about too. So, we'll get to both of those things. So, what compelled you to want to join Fertile, and what did you hope to get out of it?
Oh, we were ready to have a baby. Like,
Mm.
we're like, nah, it's time. And hopefully, because of who we are, the things that we'll learn on this journey together are things that we can share with our good friends, because we
Mhm.
have and we've met so many um, Black, BIPOC, young, folks wanting to have families, like wanting to
Mhm.
build a family. This idea of a new Black family.
Mhm.
Um, so like we were on that journey and still are on that journey. We were ready. So
Yeah.
that was why. And it
Yeah.
came, it went across the bird streets, and I was like, babe, I think we should do this. And my partner Sid was like, okay, you want me to do it with you? Because to him, it was like, oh, is this just another doula training? Like, you've done
Right.
so many.
Yeah.
And I have actually done another fertility doula training with BADT that you were also a part of. So you
Oh,
had
yes.
already been my teacher. So when I just, saw this robust program, I was like, nah, yeah, we're going to go. Like, let's figure out how to do that. And then, I just really saw the advertisement, and it said, this is for BIPOC. Like, we are prioritizing QT BIPOC people. And we were like,
Mhm.
that's us. Hi.
Yeah.
So that was it. And
Cool.
then what was the other question?
Oh, just like, what did you hope to get out of it? Yeah.
I I really wanted more. I was looking for the intimacy part.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was looking for the intimacy part. So like, how do I get my partner hands on with me? I want for my partner to feel connected, especially as Black queer people. Like, we require some support.
Mhm.
Um, and I really required that. So I was like, how can I get my partner involved? And so my partner Sid actually also ended up taking the course. We both plan to certify. We cannot wait.
Yay.
And so I think we both got that out of it. I think what we didn't know we were going to get out of it was like this wealth of information about
Mm.
nourishing this time,
Mhm.
and about the emotional literacy part. Like, we have
Mm.
really been working through that together. And then, of course, the intimacy and like, the acupressure points and some things we've learned from pelvic therapy and chiropractic care and acupuncture care, just kind of like melding all of that together. You really gave us a language, because we were
Mm.
already kind of like accessing those things just because we had insurance. But you
Mm.
gave, like, this course, Fertile gave us, like, this is how this works together.
Right.
This is the intention behind why you're going to go and see these people.
Oh, interesting.
And man, that has also really fed me during this premester time.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome
Yeah.
to hear. And did you have any hesitations about joining Fertile?
It's a hesitation that I have with almost every doula training that I go to. And so it was good to have those taken care of at the beginning.
Mm.
There are a lot of doula trainings that I go to, because I'm a birth nerd, because I do have this BA, and so I do come across a lot of like academic spaces.
Mhm.
I'm always worried, am I going to be what I call in my Southern collective? We talk about this all the time, is the fly in the milk.
Mm, yes. Yeah.
Am I going to be the one to stand out? And that
Mhm.
while we are able to make community where we're planted, and that is
Mhm.
a skill.
Sure.
There's also something about affinity that is so strong when you're in that kind of place
Yeah.
and that spot in your journey. So, we were a little worried, but at the same time, I was like, Josie's gonna protect us.
Aw.
This is Josie's space. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be seen, and we're gonna be protected. And if we
Mhm.
do have to say something, which I don't see in some other spaces,
Mhm.
is that I know that I'll be trusted and I'll be believed.
Absolutely.
And if there is an issue, I know we're gonna be taken care of. So, yeah,
Aw, nice. Oh, I just got goosebumps. That's such so nice to hear. Thank you.
yeah.
So I would love to talk about your actual experience in Fertile. What changes have you noticed in your body, mind, spirit, or emotions, either since participating in Fertile, because you were in Fertile in the spring, this past spring, or during Fertile, if you can remember?
So again, I had language to talk about it,
Hmm.
right? Like, I found myself talking about this with my friends who aren't
Hmm.
queer, who are queer, but who aren't in a place where they're trying to conceive, without having to tell all my business too.
Right.
Like, I could I could just kind of say, especially the spring, I would really kind of. explored the follicular phase. I'm like, what is it like to not be bleeding, not be in the winter, to come out into the spring and, that kind of
Mm.
breath. But I had to wait. I had a way to talk about it with my friends because they're also in cycles in
Mhm.
some way. Yeah, like they're all in cycles in some way or
Right.
another. And so, we would kind of just talk about it that way. And that was really cool. But the things that I noticed in my body during that time, hmm, like I said, I started paying more attention to like the phases in my cycle and what I was eating and when certain emotions would come
Mhm.
up. Um, I got myself a journal.
Oh, nice.
This journal is awesome. It has literally everything in it. But so I really kind of sat with myself during that time too, and I was like, "Yo, like, what's up with you, family? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on? What's going on in your body?" And I would just gently prompt myself with that question almost every day. I'm not gonna say
Mhm.
every day, but most days. And I got to a point where I had some really like foundational acknowledgments. And one was um, I have clinical depression, and that's something that we quell with you know, uh,
Mhm.
antidepressants because that's what feels safe for
Nice.
me. But I also had an anxiety that wasn't. I didn't feel like I wanted to go on meds for it, but I knew I wanted to tend to it, and I noticed that my anxiety was also about like basic
Mm.
needs. So food insecurity is a big thing here, or food
Mhm.
waste, and the environmental impact of gentrification, like that is here.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, I don't think that's me. The depression might be me because grief,
Right.
because grief, okay?
Sure.
But the anxiety doesn't feel like me. That feels
Hmm.
like."
Interesting.
So I started taking milky oat as a tincture,
Mhm.
and I would really kind of like indulge in it in my luteal
Mm.
phase. And like, so paying attention to stuff like that. So that's just one example.
Wow.
Um, but after taking, really sitting with that milky oat tincture that I actually got from a midwife friend of mine, I was talking about this with her,
Mm.
and she was like, "Here, just take this, take this, and add honey to it, and like
Oh,
see what you think." And it was so deeply nourishing. And so
wow.
one, two, again, the language that we had to talk about it. I have a deficiency in my earth.
Mm.
And I'm an earth sign through and through. I'm a Taurus sun, Taurus moon, Taurus Venus. My partner is a Taurus Venus. My partner is a Taurus rising. Like we got a lot of earth.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
So to have the earth be imbalanced, we were like, oh God, we
Right.
gotta fix it.
Right.
So yeah, so tending to like the way that we nourish ourselves, and that, especially the work that I was doing in nonprofits in the environmental justice world too, I took that very personally. So I started connecting with like local black farmers who didn't have the money to like certify with the USDA organic, but like I'm going to their farm, seeing the way they're growing this food.
Right.
They have a tradition of the way that this food has nourished the state of North Carolina for centuries,
Mhm.
you know? And that's just that family's business. And so
Mhm.
got really connected with them and did some really wonderful projects there. And I just noticed like when I started really asking myself the question, being curious about the answer in my body, using
Mhm.
medicines, given to me by my loved ones, and eating. Like
Mm.
that's a big one.
Yeah.
Um, really started to tend to that earth element. I mean, things have just really softened,
Wow.
and it's been really good because before, like I said, the earth was imbalanced, and we
Mm.
were we were hungry for something,
Huh.
and we've kind of found that, and we're still chewing on all that you've given us in the course. It's something that we are really taking our time through, but we really enjoyed it.
That's so cool, and I love how you were able to separate what was yours and what was coming from the community around you. That's so powerful, like, realizing, "Oh, this anxiety isn't mine. It's not coming from inside of me. It's situational."
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was a hard one, but I really encourage all the folks who are kind of in a transitional spot to just take notice,
Mhm.
slow down. Um, and everybody who knows me, like they know, like I'm just super blah 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 blah, blah. Very very quick, very but in this time, I've really been learning to pace myself and to
Mm.
take notice and not be on high alert, but take notice and write the things down and um, journal and ask myself questions and ask other people questions and just see where we are.
Yeah.
Because that's a skill that I think I'm going to be taking into parenthood
Yes. Oh my gosh.
when it's time again. And we have such a just to say one more thing, we have such
Mhm.
a interesting relationship with parenthood at this
Mm.
at this house.
Okay.
Just personal inner child healing work that me and my partner are doing, but also we do have a an 18-year-old in our custody
Oh, okay.
in our and he's my younger brother.
Okay.
And like I said, we got parent things that we're
Right.
healing over here.
Right.
And so now that he's 18, though, he's leaving and he's going off to college. And,
Wow.
me and Sid are empty nesters, which is,
Oh.
again, really just building onto that little, relationship we have with parenthood. So, too, in our journey with, parenting Joe,
Mhm.
through some real formative years and some real rough years, we've really kind of done a lot
Yeah, wow, totally. That's a whole other perspective to bring into this. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So we're excited for it, I think.
That's so cool. I love that. And what were some of the ways that you felt that your earth was out of balance before? Like, what was kind of the comparison between feeling it
Ooh.
out of balance versus feeling it more in balance?
I'm one of those people. We talk about these girls all the time on the internet, and I'm one of them that like would make it through the day with just an iced coffee.
Mm, mhm.
It was so bad. So much sugar and we don't even know where that coffee came from, and
Right.
that's it. And it's sitting out all day, so it's just hot. It just like the dairy, and it's maybe a soy milk, which is also
Right.
so not great for me with PCOS. With like,
Mm.
oh, it was so bad. So like that was me
Got it, got it.
stumbling around, running after the kids, making sure the chores are done, making sure that like the kid took his antidepressants, making sure I took mine. Did I? I don't know. Didn't drink enough water to be able to remember. I
Wow, right.
mean, it was a time. And then we would sit down for dinner every day because that was just tradition. But now
Mhm.
we try to sit down for more than one meal together.
Wow.
And now I get up during the day and I have a routine and I'm stretching and I found that out. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know. Routines have saved my life, but I take routines a step further and now I'm practicing what I'm preaching and I have my own rituals
Mm,
um and then tending to a garden, being in a
mm.
farm, that
Yes.
will teach you a rhythm to your day
Yes.
because when you pull that corn out of the fields, it can really only sit for a day or two
Right.
before you really need to tend to it.
Mhm.
When the spring comes, when the summer comes, and the mint that you've planted is all over your box,
Yeah.
you got to get out there and harvest it. And then you got to bring it inside, wash it, and set it out to dry.
Right.
Like you have to be active, and
Mhm.
I want to be active. I found myself like wanting that now.
Mm.
When 6 months ago, I didn't have that kind of energy.
Hmm.
And on top of being a birth worker, right? So like we're holding a lot.
Right.
Pelvic floor therapy was another thing too that really shifted it for
Mhm.
me. My pelvic floor therapist, shout out to Mbong Henry, a black pelvic floor therapy here in the medicine triangle.
Nice.
um, but I mean, man, like one of the best. And she just so gently like spoke with me about like, hey, you gotta find a rhythm and a flow for you because
Mm.
you're holding on to a lot
Yeah.
and it's making your pelvic floor tight and it's
Mhm.
making you uncomfortable. Um, and really encouraged me to find a way to like let some things go.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
healthcare, marrying that healthcare. but also being seen again by a provider who you can build an affinity with. They can see you, they see you as a person,
Right.
they're willing to listen, you're willing to talk.
Mhm.
Good friends talking with me, about this is how you grow things in your little garden, and this is how you do a little bit of organic food that you can't afford it, the Harris Teeter or the
Right.
Wegmans,
Right.
because Lord knows I can only go in there every other month
Mhm.
for one or two special things.
Right.
Um, but this is how you grow that spinach. This is how you grow that kale. Some of those really deep, nourishing leafy greens are the things that have the most pesticides.
Right.
So how do you grow that for yourself? And so all of that kind of flow talk too has been the thing that I feel
Wow.
has really changed.
Yes.
It's living a life,
Yeah.
and it makes me wonder sometimes. Just to quickly touch on like generational things, it's
Mhm.
like, oh, how was my grandma living?
Yeah.
How was her mama living? Her mama had 9 kids.
Wow.
Woo, in the
Wow.
deep south,
Right.
and but that's that generation.
Yeah.
My mother's mother had my mother's mother had 9 kids. My mother's father's mother had 13.
Wow.
Like, so fertility too. I have to
Right.
reclaim that. Fertility is my birthright. I'm
Right.
queer. I'm queer, I need a little bit of support. But fertility is my birthright. And I
Yes.
really do believe that.
Wow. That is so cool and powerful to think about that, those lineages, and also how kind of recovering or rediscovering that connection with the earth has helped bring that earth element into balance. That's so cool, so poetic and lovely. Yeah, I love how you said it like brings structure to your day. Like it just, it just does. Yeah.
Yeah, it is rigorous. Um,
Yeah.
more rigorous than school, it feels like.
Yeah.
I'm into doing like accelerated programs. So I'm
Mm,
really thinking about, moving into midwifery and the like, I can't do another I can't do another bachelor. So I have to do the accelerated program, 14, 15 months. I'm like, oh yeah, that's rigorous. I
yeah.
can do it. The farm, the farm is rigorous.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. I did some weeding the other day and I could not like walk for like 3 days. I was so sore.
Oh yeah.
So rigorous. So let's see, what features did you like best about Fertile and why? Like the videos or the handouts or the live sessions or our private community?
I love the private community.
Oh,
I
nice.
can't wait to like show up more.
Nice.
Um, My goodness. Probably the slides, like being able to print out the slides. I'm a Virgo rising, y'all.
Mhm. More
My
earth.
partner is a Virgo moon.
Oh, nice. Oh my gosh.
So let me tell you just real quick, a little
Yeah.
story. We enrolled for the course, and I'm like, "Come on, Sid. Like, I don't want to pull you along. Like, I want you to be invested too. Like, this is our journey together. Come
Yeah.
on." And he's in Aries,
Oh, okay.
sun. I'm a Taurus, and so I'm like, "Come on." But we both have the Taurus, we both have the Virgo. So he comes home, he like I guess he went all like throughout the course, printed everything off, hole punched it, put dividers, put it in a binder, brought it home. When I won't say how that night went, but I'm gonna tell y'all that was the sexiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh.
I was like, oh yeah, just a whole binder, just ready to go for the first class. Cool.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
So I'd have to say the slides were probably the best. And like I say, we still chew on that. Like we'll come back to that. We've been stretching together in the morning too, which is
Oh,
also very steamy. So like
nice.
it's just nice to like ask each other one of those journal questions. He's not a journaler. I
Mhm.
am. But to like talk about them out loud and
Totally.
it's very poetic. It's real nice. Like
Wow.
we really enjoyed ourselves.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I think that's the best feedback I've heard so far.
You know, 'Cause I'll say, like, as a doula doing this course, yes, go for it. You're gonna learn so much to, like, support other families,
Mhm.
and get real specific too about who you wanna serve because that has also really colored the way that our community has received us. It's been
Mm,
so good.
cool.
Um, it's great to do it as a doula. Do it for you too. Like,
Mhm.
do it for you too. Bring your partner along. Oh my gosh, we have a baby mama, the mother of my godson, who is a 7-year
Oh.
old that I claim like he's my child because he is my child. But my partner and I co-parent with my best friend, and we joke. He's like, "Oh, we're a throuple. But one day we'll have to come out to Jason and let him know that the way that we parent him is so queer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the three parents that we have in this is so queer.
Oh,
Our
I love it.
co-parenting is so awesome. So we should have had her come in and do it.
Yes.
Like, but she's got her own reproductive journey. So I know she'll be at a point sometime when she'll want this, and I'll want it for her enough to like do it again because it's so
Totally.
good.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, partners can join for free. If folks don't know, partners are invited to join Fertile for free, and no matter how many partners you have, if you have more than one, they can all join. Let's see. Okay, so and then was there any specific content in the program that you liked the best or found the most useful?
Oh, okay. The water. Though the
Mm.
earth sign was big for us,
Mhm.
I learned so much about my body. When we talked about the kidney, I'm
Mm.
like I said, still chewing on that.
Yeah.
But to nourish the kidneys, avoiding over exercise, that is something that I fell victim to. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
I also started a prenatal yoga teacher training, PYTT.
Oh, nice.
Those and we have to talk about that more with our pregnant folks. We have to talk about that with folks, who are recovering. Don't overexert yourself because we're talking about balance. That was so big for me in like a practical sense.
Mm.
Um, but also that the kidney is a fertility blueprint, really talking about moving into the authentic self, our essence, our sweet water. That also goes back to um, an Orisha kind of story. It reminds me about Oshun.
Mm.
We talked a little bit about this too in our cohort about the peacock and
Yeah.
that Oshun is the Yoruba goddess of the sweet waters of fertility, of love, of baby mamas.
Yes.
She is the Orisha for baby mamas, and it's really about that kind of imbalance in the story of Oshun and Shango. Their love is so for all my I really do feel for all of my straight girlfriends because like it's this story that like comes up so many times in love, but she loved him so he was almost like ashamed into the jungle. He was so ashamed of himself and he would only come out for her. Like
Mm.
she went and got this big warrior that no one else he would see no one else. She went into the jungle, got this warrior, picked him up, gave herself too much of herself away, no
Mm.
balance,
Mhm.
and he hurt her and so she ran to the moon and just this whole story. So
Wow. Oh my
I
gosh.
was so I was so blown away by just learning so much about the kidney and the kidney balance and um yeah, really thinking about those deficiencies too, because that's where we talk about deficiencies so much that I finally understood it.
Mm.
Um, so yin, but also I have a yang deficiency.
Mm.
And so again, about movement, about flow,
Mhm.
about balance, about, not giving too much of yourself away, keeping something for you.
Right.
That was so healing for me too, because when I say these things out loud, now I think about my mother
Mm. Yes.
and I think about her mom and I think about that. It really is a generational story of of love in black men, which is a story we can tell,
Mhm.
um, of learning to love ourselves more,
Mhm.
of having children with those men, because good God,
Right, right.
the Orisha for baby mamas.
Ah, that's so beautiful. Where did that story originate from? Like, what traditions is that from?
So there are lots of different traditions, and
Okay,
this is where we get into like African spirituality, which is where I would have to defer to like a mentor of mine. I think of
got it.
um, Omishade Bernie Scott, who's also the founder of the Black Girl's Guide to
Oh,
Menopause,
cool.
and is local to Durham. Oh my gosh, y'all
Wow.
should talk. You would love her.
Okay.
She could tell you about all of that. But it's a Yoruba oral tradition. And then as Black folks have become a diaspora
Mhm.
with the transatlantic slave trade, and as the Americas and the Caribbean were colonized, we also see things like Ifa, Santeria. These are religions, hoodoo.
Mhm.
Um, not all of them have Orishas, but this is now like the canon of story
Gotcha. Okay.
that a version of that story may come from. If you're listening to this and you're like, that's not how my people tell the story
Right.
of Oshun and Shango. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. That's the way I heard it in the back alleys of Birmingham, Alabama
Right.
in the early 200s, okay? Excuse me. Or the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah,
Uh,
story. So it reminded me of that story. I really enjoyed Earth, Water. Oh, Wood was also a good one
mm,
for the doulas, I'll
yeah.
say, because we have got to protect our energy in that way.
Yeah.
We can only advocate for folks as much as they want advocated for.
Yes.
Yes. So they were all pretty great. I could go one by one by one by one. They were all pretty great.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So every week, for those who don't know, in Fertile, we go through one of the five elements in Chinese medicine. So, yeah. So one week would be dedicated to water, which is what we're talking about. And then, yeah, each week we'd go through earth, and then I forget the order: metal, water, wood, fire, I think was the
Hmm. Oh yeah.
something
Oh
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Nice. Oh, that's cool. That's cool to hear how impactful water was in particular. Yeah, I do think that's such a good one for folks. Um, Realizing that we do have like finite resources of ourselves, those precious resources that come from us, like our time and our energy, that are, really hard to replenish. Yeah. So yeah, that's so nice to hear that landed for sure. Um, let's see. How have you benefited from participating in Fertile? Did you have any big revelations or light bulb moments? I know we've kind of been talking about some, but any others that come to mind?
Yeah, I think that my biggest light bulb moment was thinking about the premester
Oh,
and
yes.
how
Yeah.
we can we can choose. We have to choose now in this post-Roe world.
Mhm.
We have to choose
Yes.
and get real intentional.
Yep.
Um, about our well-being, about our health, about our wealth, about
Mhm.
generational story, about generational trauma,
Mhm.
generational trauma. But how we can really start to address those things too as we get into conversation with our ancestors and our elders and
Mhm.
our siblings about what we know to be true about our family stories, especially for queer folks.
Yes.
So much of us, so many of us are unknowingly, unconsciously taking a lot of the things that we've seen in straight relationships and putting them into our queer ones,
Yep.
and really not truly understanding why. There's a disconnect. And
Mhm.
but also the premester too for me is about the disconnect from the body.
Mhm.
A lot of us are suffering in pain, either chronic pain or again like pain and emotional suffering that is about our environment,
Yeah.
and we want to be able to talk about discernment in that way.
Mhm.
um, Especially because at this point I've seen so many families become families. I want to see people have that running start.
Yeah.
I want to see people get into it because parenting can be, when we are supported by each other, a really, really intense and gorgeous transition into life. We
Mhm.
don't have to do it the way we've been doing it.
Totally.
And the premester was cool because, especially me being queer, it's kind of a luxury for me. Like, I am choosing
Right.
parenthood very explicitly.
Right.
And so, how can I just make sure that I give myself the best running start?
Yeah,
Is how I
totally.
think about it.
I love that. I love thinking of the premester as giving yourself a running start. That's so good. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And you're so right that in a post Roe world that it's not only queer folks that need to be intentional anymore.
Please, please.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Such a good point.
But yes, especially as an abortion doula, I see the limits,
Yes.
okay, to this infrastructure that we have.
Yeah.
We're sending people, not it's not just across state lines no more, it's out of the region.
Right.
And we do, and while we like to like push mutual aid, like mutual aid is the only resource, if mutual aid is limited,
Yeah.
because when we're leaning on each other in this way, we've also got to really understand the economy
Mhm.
behind. Look, I don't even want to go there because then I start sounding kind of hotep, and I don't want to do that. But there's there's an economy behind this American health system, and
Yeah.
it's failing us. And
Yeah.
I know that to be true in abortion, in the same way I know it to be true in miscarriage and loss.
Mhm.
I know it to be true in pregnancy, in the same way I know it to be imbalanced in postpartum and fertility care for Black queer people. Like,
Yes.
I see it on that plane.
Yep.
So I'm really trying to, without doing all that kind of philosophizing with folks. I love being in spaces like this because I feel like we can,
Yeah.
talk theory, and that's what we'll do. But when I'm in front of my family, it's like, it's we're getting people to care.
Right.
We're getting people into care.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of how it's also felt too. It's like
Mhm.
a sense of urgency that, again, we're finding our pace through.
Yes, that sets a sense of urgency. I feel that. Yeah. That's that's such a good way of putting that. Um, so for folks who don't know what a premester is, I I did not make up this term. I learned it from somewhere so many years ago and I don't remember where now. I think it was in a book that I read, a fertility book, but it's basically that trimester that is before you actually get pregnant is the um gist of it. And but a premester could be more than 3 months. It could be 4 to 6 months. It could be a year or two. Yeah, it can be any stretch of time, but it's basically kind of shifting your mindset to already sort of counting that time as part of your pregnancy. So it's like how would I live? How would I nourish myself? What changes or shifts would I make? Basically, if I were pregnant now, because this is the beginning of my pregnancy right now, even if I'm not pregnant. So yeah.
I think too the premester is so cool because it was like super hopeful. Like, I'll kind of show you what I drew.
Oh yeah.
I'm I mean, like, it's all pink and red
Beautiful.
and deep purple and brown, and it's got gold, like, little sparkles on it. Like,
Nice.
that's how it felt to me when I first heard you say that word. I was like, whoa. Like, that's groovy as hell. Like, I can push that into existence right now. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing that I would encourage people to consider is, think about your premester
Mhm.
with your fourth trimester in mind,
Yes. Yes.
because that's what we're getting to. We're
Totally.
not just getting to pregnancy and then to labor and then to birth. We're getting to the other side of that.
Yes.
So what if we started this whole thing around all the way 6 months before?
Mhm.
What could we what could we do
Yeah.
in that time? And so I wrote down a couple of things that I'm excited to like develop and share and co-create with folks.
Yeah.
So if you're also listening to this on the airwaves and you're like, "Ooh, I could add to that,"
Yeah.
hit me up. Let's add to it. Um, but Afro spiritual journal prompts for unpacking your innate rhythm.
Oh my
Oof.
gosh. Wow.
Pro pro Black teachings on food sovereignty, nourishment, and foodways,
Mm.
or ecology.
Mhm.
fictional and exploratory writing from Black femmes, autoethnographies of birth workers sowing seeds in the South,
Mm.
ceremonies and rituals, a practical guide. Wow.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Wow.
some really some really fun stuff. I think too a part of it because oh you kind of made me think of it when you said it is the financial piece. What happened if we started planning for this? Like not when we had baby fever at 101 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what if we could start back there and like
Yes.
have a financial plan? Because I'm gonna tell y'all what I just wrote an article for BADT
Mhm.
um, on the state of the Black donor.
Mm.
Um,
Wow. I'm gonna read that.
$14,000, $15,000 for IVF. We already know that.
Yeah.
That's if you decide to go that route.
Mhm.
IUI, ICI, if you do it with a midwife, a couple thousand out of pocket, sure. But frozen sperm,
Mhm.
$3,000, $5,000 a pop right now. And
Wow.
you get like 1 to 6 choices of a Black donor.
Right. Right.
What?
Yeah.
Even if you're not even doing all of that, even if we're going like the purest route, thinking of like trans women and their fertility, a surrogate, egg donors,
Mhm.
money,
Yeah.
your own genetic material being tested and then washed for whatever procedure,
Mhm.
money,
Yeah.
psych evals, money,
Yeah.
resources, y'all.
Yeah.
Whew.
Ugh.
So
Totally.
like what if we started all of that planning in the premester?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to just be financials. But I do think, yeah, when you hear people in there say, "Oh, we're trying to conceive," if you hear me, look, let me make it about me. If you hear me and Sid say we're trying to conceive and it's been 1 or 2 years and you trying to figure out when this baby is coming out, send us a little bit of money.
Yes. Yes.
Because we're saving,
Right. Right.
and we have plans for this home that we've built in North Carolina. But
Mhm.
I was so sad because my little bureau behind me isn't painted, but it gets painted by my good friend Mercy in August.
Aw.
And so I'm like, yeah, we had things we wanted to do for this house, but do we want a new bathroom or do we want a baby?
Right.
Kind of want a baby.
Right.
It's about the same amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally.
And that's,
Ugh.
that's fair. Like, that's fair because that's also about our health. That's also about our wellness. It's about Sid's mental health.
Mhm.
Going through retrieving eggs. Like, that's a whole shift
Yes.
um, for folks. Even when I think about, queer folks who want to, like, there are these programs now where you can, like, donate your eggs, but at a very discounted rate because they'll take half and you donate half.
Mm. Interesting.
Um, so that's a little more accessible, but again, like these things have such like high medical standards. Like you have to have never been depressed. I don't know a queer yet who isn't a bit depressed.
Right. Right.
Just a little bit.
For sure. Wow.
So, these programs are also feeling like that's not like an option, but not the solution.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, the pre-master is about talking about all of that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I have so much to say about all of this. I love so much of what you just said. But the thing that I'm like stuck on, I'm like, I didn't know frozen sperm has gone up so much. Is that gone up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Jeez.
I mean, a 30% increase in
Okay.
6 months, and it's gonna happen again.
Ugh. I didn't know.
And that's on the East Coast. Now, I don't know what the West Coast is doing, but that's the
Okay.
East Coast. It's
Right.
tight. It's tight
Wow.
for these families. So as a fertility doula, I'm having to beef my skill set up to talk with people about financial planning. What?
Right.
I
Right.
didn't get it. And I'm gonna tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into financial planning, y'all. We just had to find resources to send people to because
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. You're so right.
But it's a part of the practice now of
Yes.
like, hey, how are we affording this?
Mhm.
Hey, and then again, thinking with the end in mind, what does it mean when the money runs out?
Mhm.
what is our relationship and dedication and intention in parenthood?
Right.
Like I said, our first kid came to us. We weren't in the foster care system, but our first kid came to us from Alabama because
Mhm.
of family things, you know?
Mhm.
So what is your relationship with parenthood? Let's start there. Let's do inner child healing in the premester. What else can we do in the premester, Josie?
Right.
That's what I'm here to ask you. What haven't I done yet in this premester that I should be thinking about?
Wow. Gosh, I mean, I think you're really thinking about this in such a holistic, thorough way that I am so impressed by. Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind for me with the premester and how I first learned it was that it takes 3 to 4 months for a follicle to develop. So, in my mind, and what I used to support and coach people through is like, that 3 to 4 months before you get pregnant or the past 3 or 4 months is kind of like a reflection of your present day fertility. So thinking of that, like you really have to kind of expand your idea of time around, trying to conceive because it's almost like stars, like how we see like the light from the stars is actually from however many years ago by the time it reaches the earth. It's sort of like that where it's like time gets really bent. Like it's very you have to think about time in a different way. And I think probably one of the most common things I hear with folks who are trying to conceive and especially queer folks is they didn't expect it to take so long. And it really does, like you said, like with the financial piece, a lot of times you have to pause and collect more resources. But also like there's just so much waiting and time that happens between each try or between gathering your resources or recovering from an egg retrieval or, maybe taking some time, between then and the transfer, if your body just needs that time, to recover. So it's like, I think people get frustrated so early on in the process because this is something that really challenges our levels of patience and that mentality that we're all taught, which is to like, go, go, go and urgency, that feeling of urgency again, and especially when it comes to like, our age, that we're conceiving at and the age of our eggs and, all that stuff that we're taught. So yeah, I do feel like the premester is sort of this invitation to slow down, like you said too in the beginning, like slow down, listen to yourself, listen to your body, settle in, and really, um, question what you've been taught, question your assumptions, about time and about urgency, and also, um, to really, like you said, kind of figure out what needs to be happening in order to get you to that fourth trimester. Like, I think that was so brilliant. I've never heard anyone say that, and that is so true.
My look, I have to shout out my mother-in-law now. I call her my mother in love. Let me say
Oh,
that. Our relationship has been so warm and beautiful. She also doesn't know that we're trying to conceive. So I think it's so hilarious because like we're writing articles and we're on podcasts and we're talking about it. And she's just like, I'm just minding my business. Whenever they give me a grandbaby is when they give me one. I'm
oh,
good.
that's
I
so
love
cute.
her. Hello, Mama Serena. You'll listen to this actually one day when I am pregnant. I'll start sharing
Yes.
this with you. But
Aw.
she taught me that. She taught me that in my
Mm.
doula business. She was like, begin with the end in mind. She's a black lawyer, business coach, law teacher, law professor. She's the shit.
Wow.
Let me say that
Wow.
about my mother in love. And I'm so proud too. I've become so much more proud about just her being our matriarch. I love
Yeah.
her.
Wow.
She taught me that. She said, begin this business with the end in mind. So when I began Want to Be Well Doula Services, when it elevated Viola's Herb Garden, our
Mhm.
Southern Apothecary. When those two merged, it became Well Care Collective. Like
Mhm.
when we started doing the doula work study project, it was begin with the end in mind. So I love too when people tell me like, "Oh, you're so on it. You're just like, oh," blah, blah, blah," and I'm just like, "Oh well." Remember, y'all, Virgo rising, Taurus sun, Taurus moon. Okay, this is what you get.
Totally.
Um, but also because of her, she
Mhm.
really helps me. You have to find somebody like that for
Mhm.
you, like somebody who just wants to be a thought partner. I'm also lucky I'm married to her kid who is like the dopest thought
Oh,
partner.
oh,
Like we be talking a lot, and so um I feel so held and chosen, and I'm
mhm.
excited to be the next person to like bring more kids into this family. Like for us it's just different,
Yeah.
and I get that not everybody has that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really really cool.
Oh,
um
so cool.
Begin with the end in mind, y'all. Begin with the end in mind.
Yes. Gosh, I think that's incredible advice, and I just remember thinking, because you get this mentality of like, okay, get to the pregnancy part, and then when you're pregnant, you're like, "Okay, I just gotta get through the birth," and I remember getting through my first birth and then being like, "Chest feeding? What?" Like, I hadn't even thought about it. Like, I was
Bless your heart.
like,
Oh,
now I
that's
have to
so
figure this out, and my baby's crying, and I'm like, I didn't even read a book about it. I wasn't even, like, thinking, because I was just like, "Just get through the labor," that just felt like the end of the journey, so it was like, I was so unprepared for the 4th trimester, and that is such good advice to be thinking about that, and how the premester is going to set you up for that 4th trimester to sustain you through it.
And here's what I'll also say, because maybe there are fertility doulas who are like, yeah, I'm gonna try that. That sounds great. Here's to the families, because I like to talk to y'all too.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
trust trust a doula.
Yeah.
Entrust a doula. Entrust a fertility doula. If you're listening to this, you got all the way through, and your fertility doula sent you this, you got a good one. Okay, because they're thinking about you, and that's one of the wonderful things about being a full spectrum doula too. And everything's just been so kismet the way that like my path has been laid out for me, because I started in birth. My best friend's pregnant at the same time. So like, man, were we learning so much.
Wow.
Then that baby was born, and we took our first doula training in college, and man, we learned so much. And then we started diving into postpartum, and she went hand with postpartum because that was her truth.
Mm.
And now she's an IBCLC and serving just she's I love you, Quay. But then, more birth training in Brooklyn with A2 Song, and then like all these other just wonderful trainings, and being taken in and loved on by the local Black midwife, Mama Tina of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Like when it's your calling, full spectrum doulas, it's about learning the entire path. So that's the other thing.
Mhm.
People are like, full spectrum doulas, but for me, it's different.
Yeah,
It's been about learning the full path that we walk, and being able as a doula to stand alongside people as they do it. That
totally.
has that has truly informed um, the way that I'm doing this work. So
Yeah.
it's been really great. I was gonna say I did want to share just a couple of journal prompts with you,
Yes,
but
please.
I want to hear what you were gonna say
Oh,
first.
I was just gonna say, I think you've done an incredible job at implementing all of this, but especially with the premester, I'm like, I feel like you took this into a whole other level that I can't think of any other thing that you could bring into it that you're not bringing into it. I mean, I'm, like, very impressed.
Well, thank you. Look, as a childbirth educator, as a community educator, when I see good curriculum, I'm like, yo, like that's it. Like that's good. People are gonna learn. People are gonna learn from this, because it takes one seed being sown into good land, into pebbly lands a mile down the road, and the wind will blow. The
Mm.
wind will blow that seed onto good land.
Oh, I
It
love
it
that.
just it just takes a little bit.
Mhm.
And we're at such a really wonderful, like, cosmic place where, like, so many people are really attuning to these things, and
Yes.
it feels so good to be sought out to do it. So I love what I do. I love
Oh.
all my teachers. Josie, thank you so much. Just it's been so great.
Oh.
I know we're gonna get into some closing things soon, but I do wanna do a couple of journal
Yeah.
prompts. If
Yeah.
you take Fertile, you're gonna have some intense journaling prompts that you should just embrace. Like, just d just do it. And if you're not trying to get pregnant actively during the course, treat this course like a premester. Take your
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
but so here are some of the things if you're listening to this and you're wanting to take this to your journal. Hope you've had a good time with this. These are for folks that are trying to get pregnant again. Can you tell me about the day you got pregnant? Where were you? What was your hair like? These are for people who are trying to get pregnant. Now tell me about the day 3 months before your big fat positive or BFP. Without judgment, who is that person? What does that person's baseline look like? Can you tell me what their day looks like? Who did you love, work, spend your time with?
Ugh,
I hope y'all have
beautiful.
fun with
I
us.
love that. It sounds like a poem too. I
Doesn't
just
it?
yes. That's
I can't wait to tell
beautiful.
people where they can keep up with me because I
Yes.
think because my friend and I want to do something about, like, what did I call it? Look, I called it something and I don't even remember. Let's see. Something about poetry. Ah, exploratory writing, fictional and exploratory writing from Black Fins. That's what we're gonna do together. I'm
Oh,
really excited.
please.
We don't know if it's gonna be workshops or a little podcast or
Oh,
what it's gonna be, but
I
follow
love that.
me
Yeah.
and my best friends, and we'll talk a little bit about my premester. I'll tell people my business. Hopefully, I'll be pregnant around that time too. So
Yes.
we'll
Oh,
take our time.
what a brilliant idea. I love that so much. My main passion in life is writing, and hence all the journal prompts and fertile. But, like, I love that. I love anytime writing can be taken to this, I think, therapeutic level, in
Yes.
terms of knowing yourself, in terms of nourishing yourself, and, yeah, being part of that conception journey for sure.
Oh, I do this weird thing where, like, I'll liken things to an herb.
Uh-huh.
So I say all the time midwives are like marshmallow roots.
Okay. I love that.
I am clove. If you've ever met me, I am
Okay.
clove personified.
Nice.
But writing feels like milky oats for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. What a great, skill that you have to be able to see the herb that goes with the thing. That's so neat.
Say it with me. Neurospicy.
Neurospicy.
Neurospicy. It's a real, if you embrace it, it's
I
an
love
okay
it.
thing.
I love it. What a superpower. That is so cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
This talk of the premester also is reminding me of this course that I took at the beginning of the year called Conversations with Spirit.
Ooh.
And I took it with Monse and Pau, who are two incredible indigenous Mexican healers. And one of our assignments was to do research as to what was happening 9 months before we were conceived
Mm,
in our family, from in our birth parents' life, in our lineage. And it was so profound for me because I realized that I knew what was going on somewhat. I knew what was going on, like, during the time of my conception or during the time when I was, like, in the womb, but I didn't
mm.
know any of the story that had happened 9 months leading up to my conception. It was like it, like, completed so many, questions that I had had. It answered so many things for me, and it felt like this huge, healing experience to find that out. So, kind of thinking about the premester also of like that is going to have such an effect on your child or your children, you know,
Yeah.
even into adulthood. I mean, I'm 44 and this was like still, you know, something that, you know, needed to be addressed and needed to be healed. So, anyway, I think that's the, you know, that made me think of that power of the
Yeah.
premester. Yeah.
And that's so deep. That's why I think, those journal prompts are so cool because like whether it's like you casting that circle
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
and projecting it again, begin with the end in mind, and project it, or like when you think back. Um,
Yeah.
actually, when my mom would tell me my birth story, she would always start with how she met my father.
Mm, that's so cool.
And she would start and she would say, I literally have it written down underneath these. This is so right. Let me share it. Um, my gosh. I have it literally written right down underneath these prompts. And it says, she would always say, I was celibate a whole year before I met your father.
Mm, interesting.
And the way she met them was actually through his sister. Um, and man, when I think about who they were at that time and how they got together, it makes me it'll make you chuckle like that. My goodness. Talk talk about the Orishas, and again, this circle that we are
Mhm,
in, that we get to choose to be in, and especially this generation of people who, are all about breaking generational curses and telling
mhm.
the truth and, talking back to oppressive systems. We also have to remember that like some of these like stories that they say are in our DNA, that are about the way that the stars imprinted on you the moment you were born, or if
Yeah.
it's about, just that lineage, we got to be so honest about it and we got to call it out,
Mhm,
and address it and sit with it. If you have the luxury of being connected to blood family, talking with those people, talk with
mhm.
them and ask them more questions, and get some grounding in that time,
Yeah.
because we talk about it all the time too in the birth world is like, thin folks or folks with eggs, we have been in our grandmother's wombs.
Yes, yes.
So if that is the case, think about who now is sitting with you,
Mhm.
whether they're new little spirits and stars or people who have been here before.
Yep,
That's so right,
yep.
you know. And think about if 3 months from now I would be pregnant, man, am I living? As the people in the church say, am I living right? Is it an okay time? If I found out I was pregnant today and I looked 3 months back, was I living right? And look, not having the safety net of, Roe v. Wade, I hope people are thinking that way. I
Right,
really, really do.
right.
Otherwise, we are in for it. And this new generation that's coming out of that,
Yeah.
boy, the foundation. I pray and I hope and believe that that's a generation of children that's gonna
Yes.
crumble, that at their feet the system, the building will crumble, because this generation too of children that we have now coming up in their prime, really, the
Mhm.
18-year-olds, the youth,
Yeah.
as they say, the youth, they are about to do it. They are already having such robust conversations
Yes.
about what it means to live to live in the world. I say it like this, and then I'll let you go. To live in the world they've inherited. I'm
Yeah,
not pointing no fingers. I'm not casting no judgments. I'm just saying
right.
they are inheriting a world,
Yep, yep.
and they're at a place now in their development where they're about to shift the tide. I can feel it
Yes.
coming, and I'm
Yeah.
super excited about it. So again, y'all start living right now. However, it feels good to you. Eat your food and drink your waters and take your walks. Okay.
I love it so much. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so final question about fertile, and then I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
some more things. But what would you like to say to folks who might be thinking about joining fertile?
Take it. take take the class. Take it, and I'll see you in the community.
Yay.
Please.
Yes.
And in all seriousness, if you are on a path, you've noticed in yourself, whether it's a baby fever and you name it that, or just a deep desire to become a parent. Um, Man, this class for me felt like practicing faith and hope. A lot of the times we don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
I find that so much in people who are, when I'm a childbirth educator and people come to me and they're like, oh, I kind of know something about Pitocin, but I don't know a lot. And now you know so much. So I kind of knew something about cycle syncing and seed cycling and my cycle. And of course, because if you're trying to do this, I know for a fact you're paying attention to that period
Right.
or your moon or your menses or whatever you call it.
Mhm.
You're paying attention to it. So you might as well get a little more information. If you know just a little bit now, come on and get a little bit more information, and get some tools on how to protect yourself through it, because I know what it's like to not know when to pee on the stick and to pee on the stick too many days, and then you tire yourself out and now you're
Right.
burnt out, but you really want a baby.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And this too is, I mean, just take the class. Just take the class.
I think the biggest best perk for folks taking it will be that they will get to be in community with you.
Come take the class. It's an awesome class. And you learn so much. You're going to learn so much about your body.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, okay. So, how can people find you, support you, buy all your things? Give us all the details.
Yes. Okay. So you can follow me on Instagram at want to be well doula. You can also follow Viola's Herb Garden at Viola's Herb Garden on Instagram. We do have a website, www.wellcarecollective.com. If you are interested in any of the podcast things we're doing, we're thinking of doing Patreon because we're also going to be giving away the recordings to all of our Doula Work Study Project meetings.
Mm,
So the Doula Work Study Project is about supporting Black birth workers who are concerned about the sustainability of birth work in the South.
mm.
Um, so we talk a lot. I mean, again, we talk business tidbits, begin with the end in mind,
Yes.
and and how they are actually life lessons.
Mhm.
But then we do talk a little bit financial planning with our doulas. We talk a lot about business. We talk a lot about cooperative economic models. So if you're interested in any of that, you can follow us on our Patreon, www.tinyurl.com/reparations for the number four repro wellness.
Okay.
And I sent it,
You
so I
sent
know
it
you
to
got
me.
the link.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's also where we'll do what we're calling a small podcast.
Nice.
More like a heart to heart series with my good girlfriend.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay, and I'll include all of those links that you just said in the show notes for people for easy access. Whit, you are just incredible, wonderful, such a delight to share space with, and I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
our conversation so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all that you're giving. I hope that it feels reciprocal the way that we take this work on. It's so good just to see us, to see those stars every class.
Mm.
That meant so much to us. So
Oh,
for
nice.
those of you who know, you know, and for those of you who are going to take the class, you'll find out. But we felt like stars, like
Oh,
cosmically aligned stars
oh.
after this. So thank you.
Ugh, that's so nice to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks to Sid. Tell Sid too.
I will. Oh, he was like, he was like, oh goodness, because you know we've been writing all the things and talking with all the families, and dads are starting to request him now in the fertility work.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
like, no, I just want to meet with Sid.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I take people on walks. He takes people to the barbershop. It's great.
Oh, I love it. You're the best. Mwah.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.